right. We're here. This is happening. First episode here, okay? So there's probably a lot of problems, okay? So we don't have any video. We only have audio because we didn't have cameras. There's probably some dates and times wrong. Forgive us. We get baked. Yeah. Without talking too much, though. The very first episode of Let's Get High and Read the Bible.
And one, and a two, and 1, 2, 3, 4.
That's like my nightmare.
Are we getting high and reading the Bible?
Always.
Is that thing?
Yeah, always.
Okay, what do I want so what does the Bible say about pedophilia?
Pedophilia?
Is there any quotes in, like, just the Catholics and the whole molesting, what do you call a scourge? What is that? Takes over the land? Is it
a plague?
A plague. That's the word I was looking for. The plague that the Catholic Church foisted upon the whole planet, really.
Yeah.
Right?
So there's not much in the Bible about that, but the Catholic Church, you see that arise in this really interesting way because priests weren't like just priests back in the day. 1,500 years ago, 2,000 years ago, they were like everything in the town. They were like
Sheriff.
The judge, the sheriff,
right.
and you don't have to be celibate. So these priests actually, whenever all these men would leave on war campaigns, the priests would just fuck everybody. And then these guys come home and there's a
kids
bastard.
who look like the priests.
Yeah. So it was actually such a crazy problem that they put in this rule that
Clause.
You cannot have sex if you're a priest. Because they're like the rock stars. They're just slinging dick all day.
Rolling through tending everybody's gear.
Yeah.
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 Oh, don't worry. I'll get that for you while you're gone.
Dude, I know this guy's name's God.
I talked to him. I'll introduce you to him. Well, that's the thing. That's almost literal, right? Like
straight.
Through me, you get to him.
Yeah. Well, there was always an intermediate. That's why there was like in Indiana Jones, they find the Ark of the Covenant. That was an altar. And check this out. So never mind. We can go too deep.
Ahead.
Let's stay at the pedophilia thing.
Okay, all right.
So
I'll bring you back. Go deep for a second.
Okay, cool. So
the Ark.
The idea is that you are so wrong and sinful that you can't even be close to the presence of God.
Where's that idea first show up? Is that in the Old Testament? Is that the basis for the whole thing?
I mean, right about the time they eat the fruit, and then you start seeing it go south from there, right? So Adam and Eve.
So original sin is so that means that we can't have God within ourselves. Like we can't find. Like you were talking last time about. There's that clause that you with church you'll get closer to God, or you'll eventually be able to stop going, or whatever, because you can find whatever you.
Yeah.
Your take was something other than what I took it as, which was eventually you find that God is within you, and so you don't need anybody to guide you spiritually.
Yeah. Well, that verse is in the Old Testament. I can't remember exactly where, but it says, "I will no longer meet with them in the confines of buildings made of canvas or stone, but inside each man's heart." This meaning that, and
what did you take that to mean?
So if the Old Testament, which is unfortunate Christianity, kind of borrows this older religion and doesn't know fuck one about it. But these priests would have to atone for the sins of everyone. And so what God says that requires is blood.
That's
blood,
and that's in the Old Testament.
Yes, it's
so blood sacrifice,
and not just blood, but like a perfect animal must die.
Oh, like sacrifice. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's exactly. So the altar, this Ark of the Covenant, has a priest once a year would go in and sprinkled the blood of a perfect lamb for the sins of Israel on this altar. And then that smell goes up to God, and he's like, okay, even though you guys have been fucking around, screwing each other's wives and stealing all this shit, okay, you're forgiven, right? And so that was the priest's job. And it was such a sacred realm. It was called the Holy of Holies.
Right.
This intersection that had this huge curtain around the Ark of the Covenant inside the temple, and they would tie a fucking rope to his leg because if he touches it, he dies because God's presence was embodied inside this. So
Go ahead.
no one can go in to get the body if he dies. So if he
They have to yank it out.
they have to pull it out the rope.
Because no one's allowed to go but him. There's only one dude alive at a time.
Yeah,
And that's his,
the
so he's
high priest.
Oh, okay, motherfucker.
Yeah.
Have you heard the theorizing about how maybe the Ark was like some sort of nuclear device? Like it was radiation that would like do that to people?
That's so cool.
Yeah.
I have not.
All right.
That's so cool.
Fact check. Ding ding. I guess fact check is going to be a Jeff Redding thing, not just a Seattle Today thing. Because it's my bell. Shit follows me around. I should go get it. Ding.
We should. I like it. I like that idea.
It might be in the. Go ahead, keep talking. Oh, so anyway, let's go back to
Yeah, so these priests, so like think of that job.
Yeah.
So literally all year, everyone's looking at you, for you, towards you,
Right.
to literally save them from the hell of God, right?
And
Wrath of God.
And were the priests chosen, or did they get to go in if they wanted to? Like was it like
Came
today?
from a line of a family like this. You know this guy Moses,
I've heard of it.
right? And he has his brother Aaron, and from the line of Aaron. Because, Moses was bad at speaking. So when God goes, hey, go free my people, he's like, dude, I'm really bad at talking. And he's like, take your brother-in-law, Aaron. And so Aaron goes and he talks. He becomes the mouth of Moses and God, right? From that line comes a bunch of priests. There's also this, the Levites. So you're born into it, essentially.
Okay, well, where are the descendants of Aaron when JC shows up?
I'm actually not sure.
Right. Okay.
I'm not sure about that one.
It's always so JC is like New Testament and Moses is Old Testament.
Yeah.
And never the twain shall meet. I mean, like, how come there's not more? You'd think if this is a historical, they're not historical documents. But that's how you can tell is because they like stay in their own lane a lot. There's not a lot of. It's like you'd think it's like those like the European. On Netflix, like the Mary Queen of Scots one, the Rain, that show, and then the Tudors, and it's like all that stuff. It crosses over, and like, hey, there's some of the same story. But in the New Testament and the Old Testament, they just nope. It's like Pac-Man. They bounce off.
Well, and if you
Agari.
if you like start studying what is happening in Jerusalem when Jesus comes in and does this stuff, it's kind of amazing. And if there's so much going on politically, and the Bible the Bible kind of like, how do I say this without being a dick? Well, so it changes the stories so much. It changes the historical facts so much that it's like, oh, okay. It's how you had that friend when you were 8 and you go over to his house for the first time and he like just stops when you're walking down the hall and looks back and goes, I'm a black belt in karate.
Oh yeah.
And then he walks down.
Liars. Tale tellers.
Yeah.
I'm a black belt. I found some doubloons in the stream down by my house. Don't tell anybody, okay? They're in a museum now.
So Michael Jackson didn't stop to use my bathroom, but his sister did.
I box. I'm a boxer. Yeah, I do. It's pretty cool. Don't tell anybody I said that, okay? That's one that I told, actually.
Oh, man.
This kid I was growing up with, he used to fuck with me. I didn't even know it until way later. He'd be like, do you box? I'd be like, yeah, man, I box. Like, I could tell. It's pretty cool. And later on, I realized he ended up being a gay guy, but he was just the greatest dude ever, but he was totally fucking with me. And then like, we both had paper outs. He was like, dude, check this out. You help me do my paper out, and then I'll help you do yours. I'm like, fuck yeah, I'd love to, Kevin. And we'd do his. We'd be halfway up to my house. He's like, oh, dude, I forgot I got a birthday party I got to go to. I'm like, oh, fuck, that sucks. All right, well, I guess I'll see you later.
Is he a pastor now? Is that what we're getting at?
No, sorry, I don't know where that came from. That was just a total
It sounds like he's a hustler.
Edmund's wormhole right there. Yeah. So we were going all the way back to.
The start of Christianity. You talk about these two different books. Here's the weird thing. Think about this. The Bible's new. So Christians, people that believed in Jesus back then, they didn't have the Bible. There was no such thing as the Bible then,
Yeah, it can't.
The Bible comes a lot longer, comes along a lot long. Yeah, later with Constantine and stuff. And, what it is a bunch of letters of Christians. They're writing each other letters about stuff. So let's go back.
But all the way back, we need to talk about the pedophilia.
Okay.
Well, no, we don't have to. But I wanted to. What about it seems like there's a lot of stuff about, the people who don't have any power. You should be nice. You shouldn't abuse your power.
Mm-hmm.
Does any of that come close to the be nice to young people, don't have sex with them?
Unfortunately, the Bible's not really cool to young, especially the Old Testament. There's this rad story in the Old Testament where I don't think it's Elijah. I can't remember. There's a prophet of God, and he's walking into the city, and all these kids make fun of him. They call him bald. They're like, "Hey, baldy," and he spites them. He points at them, and I can't remember the number. Is it 47 or 40 kids or 30 kids? And God sends these she bears out of the woods, and they just devour them alive in front of everyone.
For calling baldy?
Yeah.
Jesus, talk about bullying going wrong, man,
dude. And the Old Testament says
we're talking about millennials, and God, they could not have withstood that. But the thing is, they would never even thought to bully that guy.
Yeah. I don't. I'm holding out for millennials. I kind of believe in them. They've gone through some shit now. Maybe
what that we all haven't gone through.
Yeah, I don't know. Man. That's the rabbit hole. But sometimes getting punched in the face is kind of important.
Yeah. Getting left behind, getting
humbled,
dude, getting bullied. I mean, it's not good. But you remember when I was in junior high, you'd get initiated when you were seventh grade, because ninth graders are gigantic adults compared to seventh graders.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Seventh graders are basically just sixth graders.
Yeah.
2 weeks ago, and now they're with high school kids, and it was a rite of passage to be initiated. Roll a rock with your nose, stick your head in a toilet.
Oh my gosh.
Whatever, just general and
razzing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's kind of like working out. It's bullshit and you hate it when it's happening. And it is, you're right, it's injustice. But what happens to you after that is
yeah.
It kind of, I don't know.
It toughens the skin for sure.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. But so before millennials, we were just talking. Okay, so cut it. We'll get let's finish pedophilia. So
see, I'm gonna just keep saying that word over and over again. It's 'cause until we figure out a place to hang that hat for the Catholics, and I just want to. It's so scourge, plague. The Catholic Church and are they the ones who started the "you have to go through me"?
Oh no, that was around before. Yeah, that's everything. There was there's always a shaman. There's always a priestess.
Yeah, it was never. So was JC the first person to be like, "It's within you, bitch"?
Wow. Well,
he was given
that wasn't Jesus though. That was the old. Well, the verse that I referenced about God meeting with you inside the confines, that's from the Old Testament. So that's way before Jesus.
Right.
But
that's just writing though. Who's the first guy? Did the Old Testament have? Is Moses a prophet?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And who else is a prophet in the Old Testament?
So many.
Yeah.
Isaiah.
All those homies.
There's all these books Ezekiel. Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Your boy. Sorry. No kids' names.
Yeah. So
stone, dude.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Weed, laughing at farms, yeah.
Right?
Eh,
S is on this.
So all those prophets. And did any of them were any of them fans of the hookers and the poor?
There's a real famous story that a lot of songs have been written about like the dude, like of all the Israelites, of all the Jews, there's one warrior king that is like the shit.
Is it that outfield song?
His name's David. King David, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and he has this story about in his later years, he conquered everything. And so instead of being out on the battlefront with his men like he used to, he was chilling in his palace. And as he's chilling on the roof of his palace, he sees this woman bathing, and she's like thirsty. She's like so hot. And so he calls her over and fucking knocks her up. And this crazy thing happens. Her husband is actually like the best guy ever. And he is, I believe he's like a leader, or maybe not a general, but he's like decently high in this. Okay. Oh, King David. Okay, so I'm going to go back.
David had saw the sunbathing hottie and who was married to the general.
Yeah.
And the general goes,
well, so he's fucking her and knocks her up, and he kind of knows this. So what he does is the sneaky thing. He brings that general back from the war. He's like, you need to come back, and you've been doing a great job. You need to chill with your wife and have some time. So
it looks
then
like
it's going to look like it. Yeah, right. So he comes to the court and stands before him, and he's like, I cannot do this. I can't enjoy my life while my men are out there dying. And so David sends him to the front of the fucking line so he'll die.
Oh, okay.
So this becomes this huge thing, and then David's whole kingdom goes into disarray. You know, there's like that whole Leonard Cohen song about it.
Okay.
Yeah. So the reason you can't covet your neighbor's wife, why is adultery in like written in stone? I'm pretty sure all these motherfuckers were just sneaking around giving each other STDs.
Right.
Like
clap.
Yeah, dude, you're hippies that live in the desert.
Yeah,
like
that's the deal.
Yeah. It's gonna smell like patchouli and
and there's no running water.
No.
Yeah.
No, but
there's no toilet paper.
So the Old Testament it comes from such a long time ago. It has this crazy rich history. And Christianity is such a different religion. There's no prophet that says the Messiah of the king that will come and save us from tyranny and let us worship our own God will die. There's no verse that says he will suffer. There's no verse that says he'll be poor in the Old Testament. Yeah. And so
but he said, it says, does it say he's going to show up?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. There's like things you could say that, they're usually a lot of the verses that people use from the Old Testament that say is a prophecy about Jesus are taken out of context. It's usually about a specific person. And they're like, oh, that suffering servant in Isaiah 5:3 or whatever it is. I don't know. That's Jesus. And it's like,
maybe.
No.
It doesn't say it is.
And, like the Messiah is a person of grandeur in their faith. It's imagine like.
Is he? Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Imagine like Aladdin when he gets the genie and he comes in to impress the girl, like with King Ali Belly. That's what they thought the Messiah would be like,
Okay.
And so Jesus rolls up and he's a day laborer. He doesn't even own tools. He's not a carpenter. He doesn't have skills. He can't go like, No, they're like really poor humans.
Yeah.
Where he comes from in Nazareth, they're the poorest of the poor.
It's funny because I always tried to envision him like on a job site, like being the guy who's actually building, and I just couldn't do it. I'm like, what? He couldn't build anything.
There's actually all these other gospels that are not in the Bible. They weren't canonized, right? But there's some that tell stories of Jesus in different periods. Like none of the Gospels we have really talk about Jesus as a kid. There's some stories, birth, obviously,
His
childhood,
upbringing.
Yeah. But
why? Do you know why?
Well, I think this will. If I go on that tangent, it will take me away from this point,
yeah,
and
go
then I
ahead.
can
Okay, sorry.
maybe I can wrap them all up.
Right.
Yeah, but
Why? Why?
yeah, how do I pull all this together?
I'm just gonna boil down to why? Why?
Why are you hurting yourself?
Why?
Why are you hurting yourself?
Why is God? Why is Jesus? Why?
So
sorry.
I forgot where we were.
No, we were
Well, let me go back to this Christianity thing because this is
no,
crazy.
you were talking about the Gospels that weren't canonized.
Oh yes, fuck! This is rad.
Yeah.
Okay, so these other gospel, there's a gospel of Mary Magdalene,
Right.
his main bitch.
Right.
There's a gospel. There's all these they're not included.
But they
But
were written.
yeah, and there's a story so Jesus is a kid, right? And there's a Jewish law that's very important. You do not work on the Sabbath. Okay. So one day a week, they hire people to turn off and on lights and shit. Like you don't do anything.
Oh, during that time.
Yeah, on every Saturday I think it is for them, but Sunday
Oh,
for
is
us.
it every? Okay.
I
don't. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, you don't do dick.
Yeah.
Right? And so Jesus is a little kid and he's down playing by the stream, and out of mud he makes these seven, maybe 8 sparrows, birds. And then he does magic and they become birds. And this guy is at the river and he sees it and he's like, ah! And so he runs to Joseph, Jesus' dad, and he's like, your son is betrayed the Sabbath. Your son is God against God. And he goes down, Joseph runs down and he's like, Jesus, what are you doing? And he claps his hands, Jesus does, and the birds just fly away. And he's like, sparrows, what sparrows? It's like, what? And then there's this other story
That's
Jesus.
the end of it.
Yeah, there's so many. There's a bunch
David
of them.
Lynch, man.
Yeah, there's well, it's just so funny. You think God of the universe? He's 8. He's just hanging out, wants to play, and they're like, no, you're going in timeout, and then he just makes the evidence disappear. What do you mean? I didn't do anything wrong. There's another one where, his dad is a carpenter and he has this rich client and he's making some piece of furniture for him and he cuts a board too short. And back then, obviously material is crazy hard to get. But if you cut it too short, you're fucked, right? Too long. Right. So Jesus makes his dad go on one side of the board and he goes on the other and he grabs it and pulls it out. I just love the idea of an all-powerful God that could cure cancer or death.
And he's 8. He's just not. I got this, Dad. Hold the board.
Yeah.
Now, Paul.
We just
Suck
got
my
this
dick.
IKEA shipment.
Enjoy me, Dad. Enjoy me.
There's another. He withers a lot of people too. Withers them like this. There's a man that says something that he doesn't like, and Jesus withers him on and he's a kid.
Does it ever give you a definition of wither?
It's to shrink all the life away. There's even one which I'm gonna fuck up because these I don't read these gospels very often.
Do you survive withering?
I don't think that guy did, but there's a kid that does.
Who survives the
the
withering?
Gospel of
He
Thomas.
rolls around as a withered kid.
It's funny too because it's
8-year-old. I don't think so.
Yeah, it's-
End of the line.
Can you imagine you tried to make friends and that's hard enough, and then hey, there's this guy named Jesus and every time I say something that he doesn't like, he looks at me really weird, and then that kid's at the park, they're on the merry-go-round and Jesus he throws Jesus off and Jesus just goes and the kid instantly Benjamin Buttons. The kid instantly just becomes an old man. He's withered and his parents see it and his parents are like, what the fuck? You've taken the life from our child. And so Jesus is okay and gives it back.
And unwithers?
Yeah.
Unwithers. Witherless?
Yeah.
I don't know what that is. There's a word there somewhere. Withers and unwithers. I don't know. And so is the and the other guy, the older guy that got withered, died though? He didn't.
I think so. I definitely could be wrong on this. These are I think they're what they call apocryphal gospels.
Was it sort of what was that kid that who's the kid that had the powers? I can't remember. I'm stoned. What other baby Jesus moments are funny in those gospels?
There's not many baby Jesus moments.
young, kid Jesus.
To be honest, those are the best ones I can remember.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Joseph's in it a lot then. Does he?
He's in that one. Joseph's not really in much, period. Joseph is a super mystery. He's in a couple verses. So the weird part about the Gospels, which are these 4 books that are in the very front of the New Testament, and they tell the story of Jesus. In a couple of them, they talk about Joseph in the birth narrative, in the star, in the inn. They had no place to stay. Joseph's like a big part of that. But in other sections of the gospel, like for instance, Jesus goes and starts his ministry. He or he turns water into wine. Then he goes back to his homeland and he's teaching them there. And they're like, "We know you. You're not a prophet." And Jesus has this line: "A prophet is never recognized in his homeland." And in that, all of his family's there. And people are like, "Isn't this Mary's son and James' brother?" But they never mention Joseph. So
they mentioned the mom and the brother, but not the dad.
Yeah.
Is that because he's supposed to? Why?
In my opinion, I bet you Jesus didn't have a dad.
Latchkey.
Yeah, I bet you. Well, I mean, dude, a Roman group comes through your small little town in Nazareth, and you're like a poor woman. And back then, women weren't treated well.
Yeah.
They weren't treated.
They were property, right? Or less.
That's the strangest part about the Bible. In this weird, fucked up way, it's actually for the time like a really progressive book.
It is.
Yeah.
Oh, because it's
because
saying
of
the poor and women.
So back in that time, you couldn't even, I believe, and I could be wrong about this because, this is just billions of years of teaching in weird churches in rural America. But like back in that time, women couldn't even testify in court.
Yeah.
So let's say a woman saw someone kill someone else and they brought her in. It's like, it's a woman. Yeah.
Couldn't own property.
Nope.
Yeah.
Nope. And, and so the Bible's really against divorce, really against, and even just the fact that it mentions women hanging out with Jesus all the time.
Is progressive.
Huge.
Right.
Yeah, which is hilarious because then there's other parts of the Bible where it's like, "I do not permit women to speak."
It says that?
Dude, it says, the man is the head and the woman shall sit in submissive learning. Her head shall be covered and she shall not speak.
That's aftermarket. No deity ever said that. No smart man ever said that. Guys in robes who weren't getting laid said that shit.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and so that's the fun part about the spread of Christianity. Oh, yeah, keep going.
No. It's so. We'd be in such a better place if women ruled the place. If just defer to women. Just do what the fucking women say.
If you
is that so hard?
When I was 8, I remember I didn't have much socializing when I was growing up, obviously, but I was at this playground, and I remember seeing I'd only really met my sisters or people from the church, maybe, or something like that. So secular humans, people who didn't believe in Jesus. I had zero interactions with them, and so we're at some park.
How old are you?
Oh, I mean, that was until I was 18.
When does this story take place, young Jesus?
Yeah,
this is in the non-canonized Leif story.
There's this. So I remember when. So do you know what courtship is?
Yeah.
Have you ever heard of this Christian
courtship?
Well, it's like I think it got hijacked by overzealous, jean skirt righteous people type stuff.
Jean skirt?
Yeah, you've never seen the jean girls that wear the jean skirts at church that are
Oh, not at church, not exclusively at church.
It's real, because it's they can make yeah, it's kind of a thing. You'll see a family and they'll have 16 kids and 5 of the daughters have jean skirts.
Because why?
I'm assuming because it's cheap and you can then.
But courtship.
Okay, so courtship is
when families go out on dates. Families follow around so you're never alone together.
Yes.
Yeah. Don't fuck
yes.
Me. I got you. Come on, man.
Yeah, so that's how I grew up, right? And I was not allowed. We're not allowed to date, and dating was never explained to me. Basically, if you have sex before you're married, you go to hell. I literally thought you got hit with a lightning bolt.
Immediately,
I thought.
Well, so Catholic. I was I didn't think it was. It wasn't so immediate for me. I was just oh no, you're fucked. You're fucked. I don't know exactly how you're fucked, but you're genetically fucked.
Yeah, it's gonna change your destiny.
Yeah, or just like I don't know, like it was like this storm to me that would just envelop your life, or or like at some point you're just gonna have to pay for it.
Yeah,
and like bills were always really like I don't know, but I totally get that the guilt, the guilt of the storm of guilt.
I've been working on this song.
It's like a barometric pressure, where it's just like
It's
in
so
some
much
religions,
worse.
it's heavier than others, and Catholics, it's like it's generational, it's genetic, and it's omnipresent.
I mean, I've never thought that any of my thoughts have been alone. I think God is looking at everything I think and do and judging it for good or bad. So I would, even growing up, like, have you seen that video of the kid that goes like, he's in his room, he has a gaming setup, and you see him standing kind of off camera, and he's like, I will not look at boobs. I will not look at butts. And he's just screaming this, like, he's like, for the righteousness of God, I will not be unpure. And he sits down, looks at his computer, and the first picture on there is a girl. And like he just goes, fuck!
And who's this guy?
Just a random dude I saw on the internet.
Oh, that's just being funny?
No, I think it was real.
Oh my God.
I mean, I used to go to bed with gloves on, like snow gloves.
So you wouldn't fucking get after it?
Yeah. Because I didn't want to go to hell.
Well, and I don't know when that ended for you or if it did, but the first chink in the armor for the Catholics with me was my brother and I. We had to go to CCD. Do you know what that is?
No.
It's catechism school.
Oh, cool.
It's like Sunday school on Wednesday nights, but it leads up to your first communion.
Okay.
It's for people who don't go to the private school, the church school.
Oh, okay.
And we had to go to that, and my brother and I were always getting kicked out for it was like, what are we fucking doing? And we would like, they couldn't do anything to you.
Yeah.
It was free to go there. Like they're just trying to get butts and seats generationally, right? They're just trying to indoctrinate you.
Yep.
And me and my brother just like we'd end up in the convent with Sister Sarah, who was this like 400-year-old woman who was like looked like she'd been withered, and
is this recording? Check.
But so Sister Sarah,
okay,
she had been withered. She was this big. She sat on a little, like it was like Yoda. Like
yeah.
And she'd like try to talk to us, and we'd just be cracking jokes, and every once in a while, we'd get her laugh. And I was like, okay, all right, I knew it. I knew that this is mostly bullshit. And then it's like at the end of that, you're supposed to go to your first communion, and then you can officially take the Eucharist.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
But I was doing it before because I was like, whatever.
Yeah.
I was like, my dad, I'm like, I get it. It's the body of Christ.
Yeah.
Well, like, no, I mean, it's really, really the body of Christ. I'm eating his dick. All right? I get it. I'm drinking. I'm eating. I get it. Okay. I was like second grade. I'm just talking my way into the body of Christ. I just don't want to sit here. I don't want to walk up there and I just don't want to sit here anymore because I feel stupid. You all walk up there and I have to sit here because I'm in second grade. I'm going up for the cracker. Give me the biscuit. I know. It's his toenail. Make it happen. so Sister Sarah, she was the first person, but then at the end of this, it's 9th grade, 10th grade, 11th grade. At the end of it, you're supposed to go to your first communion, and I'm like, and I just put it off, and I put it off, and I put it off. Finally, I go, and it's not like the booth; it's a face-to-face with Father John, who's he's about half as old as Sister Sarah, so he's only like 180, and I'm like, forgive me, I've sinned. Okay, what the fuck did you do? And it's like, I broke some windows. Because I've taken the Lord's. I didn't say any bullshit. I was like, I broke some windows, lied, told a guy I was a boxer. That's about. I mean, that's the podium. Is that cool? You just big sigh. You just say a fucking bunch of stupid prayers. Just get the fuck
Hail
out.
Mary, Mother of
now
Grace.
you're Catholic. Please bring your kids when you have them. It's like it was that. I'm like, that's it. I broke windows.
But see, think of that think of that, how strange that place is. And this will be how I can finish that pedophilia side of this.
Right. And just to tie the knot on that, it was like, that was it. I was like, I never went back to church after that. Like the senior year, my dad took us to church. It was like, you're both graduating from high school. It was like, he's like, you don't have to go to church anymore. If it doesn't take, it's not, I just, and it was like, last time I ever went.
That's really cool.
Well, what's he going to do? Force us? He's like, now I'm bigger than him. I could totally take it. I could push it. Well, I mean, he's fucking 85, so I could push him over. Yeah. I wouldn't even have to push him. He couldn't catch me.
How's that hip,
He's
Pops?
mostly deaf, and he can't hear me coming up, so I could just I could have my way with that kid. So he's not forcing me to go to shit head Reading. Sorry, Dad. Anyway, pedophilia.
Well, I'm crying. So to go back like a long time ago, like we were saying, when you're a priest in those times, which we'd mentioned earlier, like you're more than a rock star. You're literally everyone's conduit to God. And so they impose this rule because every girl's getting knocked up and everyone's just fucking through these villages and it's just creating mayhem and chaos everywhere. And so if you're a priest, you can't fuck. Right. That's the deal. So that, first of all, why would you do that to a human being? Why would you make them suppress who they are?
Well, yeah, it's your whole drive for being alone is to procreate.
And now we don't
or practice procreating.
Yeah, and now it's not just that you're now cut off completely from intimacy in this way. You get to sit in a booth where no one fucking sees you, and they tell you all of their dirty secrets.
Yeah, baby.
All day.
That seems like a horrible
all
job.
Fucking day. You're sitting there listening to people doing bad shit.
And so when does it turn from? When do they say priests can't do the thing anymore?
I can't remember. It was so long ago I listened on, but it was a while. I feel like it was like around 13.
Oh, like deep in the New Testament.
No, New Testament was the turn of is 100. It's in the 1st century AD.
What?
Yeah, New Testament. The first writings,
but not in the Old Testament. Like priests were balling day long in the Old Testament.
So priests in the Old Testament. You got to remember these books too, which no one takes into consideration, are written by the Jewish people and Christian people.
Right.
So there's this weird thing. The Jews never really had a crazy massive army. And there's actually, whenever they say like, we conquered this, people totally.
Who conquered anything?
I mean, no, they definitely have conquered a lot. Like, I mean, they've come through anti-Semitism, but like we're talking about the Old Testament time.
They've conquered time.
Yes. Yeah,
But look at the little slice they got left.
And
no wonder they fight so hard for it.
They've been doing that for thousands. So point being, going back to this,
sorry.
They're skewing. It'd be like it's like Eastbound and Down when he writes his own autobiography and he's just in the car listening. It'd be like
history is written by the victors, and
these guys weren't even victors. They just wrote their own history.
Their own history. Yeah. It's an autobiography.
It's with a lot of creative
writer's embellishment.
So much
editorial. What's the word? License. Editorial license.
Yes. Yes.
Did I set it outside? Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
No.
So I forgot. So the priest. Let's go back to this priest. We'll wrap it up. Okay. So you sit there listening to everyone's dirty secrets, and you can't fuck.
Right.
What is that going to do to a human being's brain over time?
Well, and not. It's more like, what is it going to do to the people the position? Like, what is it going to do to the position? Who's going to want to be in that position?
That's another.
Because
really good
like
point.
that's. It seems like once that happened, and I don't know. Are we talking about the 13th century? Is that what you're saying? Is like they made them stop fucking in the 13th century or 14th century or something?
Soon we're gonna have like a computer where we can fact check shit in real time. Yeah.
Well, so whatever, but it was in the New Testament though.
So the New
or not. Probably not, right?
No.
It's not even in the New Testament because it was after the New Testament was written.
Yeah.
Right. Because it's recent.
Well, Catholicism comes around from this really, in fact, he's my favorite apostle. His name's Peter.
Yeah.
Right? And supposedly he goes to Rome, and from him the Catholic Church springs.
And so isn't he in the basement at the Vatican?
Supposedly, yeah, but who knows?
Well,
right?
you saw, what's the Tom Hanks movie?
Oh, are you going to say the Da Vinci Code?
Oh, yeah, that's all real.
I was not allowed to see that.
What?
No. I wasn't even allowed to watch. I wasn't allowed to watch secular movies, and that
Well, and the other one you have to. It's not even just that one, but the second one he did, Angel with Ewan McGregor, is just the stories, great stories, and probably 100% true because I believe everything I read. I think it makes me a more interesting individual. That's not original. Yeah.
well,
Anyway,
the funniest
Peter
thing,
in the basement of the they have their own fucking. They're their own country.
dude, it gets so fucked up if you go. And in the catacombs, there is, I mean, and if oh man, so let's even go back to that because this is what's really interesting about Christianity is so this Jewish prophet who wants to free the Jewish people and allow them to worship Jehovah in their temple freely without having to give any money to Caesar, without having to give any tribute to any other god or emperor or ruler. They want to worship their God. But that's not how it works if Rome has conquered you and Rome has conquered this place, right? So this,
And is that place called Israel?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah,
And-
Jerusalem.
Jerusalem.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah.
And
And
so,
on the bank of the
I'm not sure which river. I think it's it's
no,
all
sea, Galilean
Galilees,
Sea.
yes.
Galilean Sea.
Yeah. That area is so crazy too because like that's like in basically I think it's the Middle East, Iraq, Turkey.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
where
Iran.
Sumer, like
Yeah.
Samaria
Sumer,
comes
yeah.
from there. It's like
That's the cradle of life right there.
everything.
Yeah.
Well, obviously it's just where the writing comes from, so we started being able to collect it all. But
We should totally have a little iPad out to you. Well, we should have someone.
I have, yeah.
I got one sitting here, but
They're
it's
on
like
it.
it would yeah, whatever. Yeah, Sumerian. Like,
See, but we go down. I'm,
Right,
I'm
exactly.
studying
So-
this stuff. I'm not ready to talk about it.
yeah, we got to go back to. I want to like the part about. It's all I care about is just the
pedophilia.
scourge. Well, just the and I don't know if you saw this, but recently, like in the last couple of days, the bishops in the country got together and did something about. I shouldn't talk about it. I should have read the whole thing, but it's like they're like trying to press up politically. It's like, well, bitches, you don't have to pay taxes. Shut your mouths. Shut your mouth.
Why do the fact that we gave money to churches during this pandemic made me so infuriated?
My buddy does the books for a church in town, and they got this giant check, and the pastor of the church said, "Are we going to help?"
Yeah.
And he was joking. It's like, well, probably.
So this is something that's fun. Okay. I have a hard time with this, and I don't, so I've studied some of these passages a bunch, and I'm like, what does this mean? But check this out. Have you ever heard the story of the rich dude that comes up to Jesus?
And says what?
How do I get into heaven?
No.
It's rad. So Jesus, I'm pretty sure it's right after the like the Sermon on the Mount. I'm not sure, but Jesus is preaching in a public place. It's packed. He's been like fucking going around the countryside and like healing everyone, and like so there's like
He's got some hits.
people they're talking about him, right? Yeah, he's got
coming
some,
up.
He's trending.
It's happening.
He's trending.
He's totally trending. Yeah.
And so this really affluent kind of younger dude, I think, walks up to him and he's like, how do I enter the kingdom of heaven?
Yeah.
And he says, honor your father and mother, obey the commandments, and like give to the poor. And he says, teacher, all of these things, he's like pumped. He's like, yes, teacher, I've done this all. And he goes, great, you've done all this. You lack one thing. Sell everything you have, give it to the poor, and follow me. And he turns away and like just fucking wrecked. His head's looking at the ground. He's like walking. And the disciples too, who were standing around Jesus, were like, what?
Gonna sell everything?
Like, what? Yeah.
That's a new one. Wait.
Dude, they literally like, so the disciples are like, well, is this true? And Jesus says, assuredly, I say to you, it is easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to enter into the kingdom of God.
Oh.
And the disciples hang their heads for who then can be saved. And it's like, okay. And then after these teachings, so Jesus was super poor. He was all about the poor. Jesus' brother, James, who continued Christianity after, lived in sackcloths and only gave to the poor and was like, everyone loved him. He was the best guy ever.
Half brother. Or we'd know more about him, I suppose.
Right? Yeah. And it's the crucialest, biggest part of Jesus' ministry is giving to poor people.
Yeah,
he wants to give to poor people. So
give to go ahead.
And then after this, we have this book called Acts, right? So right after the Gospels is this book called Acts, and it's the story of the spread of Christianity, and it begins very closely after the crucifixion of Christ, and all the apostles are in one room. They learn to speak tongues, like the Holy Spirit comes in on them and this stuff, and they start this church. And as they're starting this church, they all live together. They all give to each one as that person needs. They all split all their goods.
Communal living.
That's how the people that hung out with Jesus knew they were supposed to live. And we live now in this time where everyone's like, I'm a fucking Christian. Like, have you ever seen the morning devotionals on you? I'm going to start saying, oh my God, dude, I love it. So it's like big Texas hair, blonde. And it's like, she's like, I'm Debbie. And lots of soft lighting behind her, right? Like lots of soft lighting, like a halo kind of effect. I just love to wake up in the morning and have a coffee and speak to my Lord. I speak to my Lord like I would speak to my boyfriend. I just tell him everything, and he helps me. And I used to run around and tramp. I used to like to do the cocaine, but I've been saved from this. I no longer sniff the angel dust off the penises.
If you've never YouTube,
there's so many.
Posting it?
Well. And I'm exaggerating what they say, but this girl,
mildly, you're cobbling together about 3 of them, but it's all there.
Yeah,
no,
and it's like,
so send me that stuff.
So, and even if you were let's say you run a church, and you're a pastor, and you're taking money.
Yeah. Isn't it supposed to be the opposite?
What?
Well, is there supposed to be a big chapel? Like where did JC, where did he do his work?
So Jesus loved that shit. So
loved what shit?
The temple. When he rides into Jerusalem on this Palm Sunday, the first thing he does is go into the temple, and in this temple, they have these different sections,
like a buffet and shit.
Well, it's like an outer court. The outer court is where anyone, even if you're not a Jew, you can visit, and if you're not a Jew, you can still buy. So these people will raise perfect lambs, and you can buy this lamb for your family and have a priest sacrifice, even if you're a barbarian.
Yeah.
Right? And so
cover your bases.
It's essentially like those people selling those animals and those people exchanging the money for the different people coming from different lands and different religions that believe different things were making money.
Right.
And so what does Jesus do? He starts throwing over all their fucking tables and throwing them out and being like, you've made my dad's house a den of thieves. So if you think Jesus came to abolish the temple, that's really weird, because he really loves it and was trying to make it holy towards God.
Well, okay, but so there had to be a temple, but the whole commerce thing is what pissed him off. He didn't like, because so you look at the Vatican and it's like the most ornate building on the planet.
Mm-hmm.
But it's filled with treasure.
Yeah,
it's filled with plunder and treasure.
It's always about money.
That's not what he was about.
No, and so this is so cool. You bring this up because in Jesus's time, there's these 3 sects, these 3 groups. There's Pharisee, Sadducee, and I think, what are they? Just like Jesus, poor, common person, right? And the Sadducees, I believe that's what they're called, pretty high. They were like the Jews that did what Rome wanted. And because they did so we're the pastors, we're the priests in the area, we're already established, we're, let's call them like upper middle class. Okay. They're like almost rich, right? And then Rome comes in, and Rome is like, hey, if you guys just keep everyone in line, we'll give you money. And they're like, cool. So they get really rich, these priests, these higher ups in the Jewish
They're called the what?
Sadducees.
Sadducees.
I believe that's, let me see. I don't want to be a Sadducee. I don't want to be a Sadducee. I've so many Christian songs.
That's so awesome. That's like for the longest time in school, I'd be like, if I had to count my threes, I'd be like, 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, 24, 26. To this day, if I have to count threes, I'm counting it from the Schoolhouse Rock.
Yeah,
so
totally.
it's the same thing, right?
Dude, yeah. Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers. Yeah, totally.
So Sadducees and Pharisees?
The Pharisees were like the lower middle class or the middle class. Pharisees. And what they did is they followed the law perfectly. And you know a lot of these people because they come up to you and they say, hey, if you don't repent, you're going to hell.
The judgy McJudgertons.
They know everything about the law, and they're going to tell you about it.
Yeah.
This is how it should be in your life.
Yeah.
And then below them is Jesus' class, common people, poor people. Like I said, Jesus was a day laborer. And so where did Jesus work? On the rich Jewish elites' homes. Who else has money to buy furniture?
Yeah,
right?
To build.
So he's watching these people desecrate his life, religion, and God, and he has no power over it. They're worshiping Rome and benefiting from it financially, massively. So his idea is to come in and fuck that up. You guys are all out. We're all one under God. I'm going to, and where were we going with this? I forgot.
We were talking about. Jesus came in. I wanted to know about the temples and we were like it started with just because the temples.
Jesus didn't come to abolish it. Yeah,
he didn't come to knock it down. Mm-hmm. He liked the temple, but the commerce part was the thing that he was trying to get out from under.
Do you want to? What I'm about to say is random, but it's going to lead into the next thing. Do you know that Jesus was born in 4 BC? So technically, Jesus was born before Christ. And check this out. By Jesus' own words, he didn't come to start Christianity. I mean, if you believe...
How could he?
He was a Jew. He wanted to... He was calling himself the Messiah. He wanted to perfect Judaism. He wanted to let them have their religion, right? And so what happens... What happens is the same thing that happens to all the other thousands of fuckers that rode into Jerusalem saying they were the Messiah. They get crucified. Lots of them. Lots of them. In fact, even after Jesus, I think it's like maybe 30 years after Jesus, a dude does it. And no one even talks about this. A guy comes into fucking Jerusalem, says, I'm the Messiah, and overthrows Rome. And they live for 4 years as a perfect, God-worshiping society until Rome comes in, and then they all have to kill themselves. And then Rome burns the temple. We lose the Ark of the Covenant.
Wait.
Yeah, there's so much.
What's that guy's name?
I think he was like the grandson of this bandit chief named Hezekiah, but I don't remember his actual name. I just know that is what kicks off the Great Roman Jewish War, which is like 64 AD, I believe. 67 AD is what.
And so he rules Rome?
He rules Jerusalem. He does what Jesus wanted to do. Right. He gets Rome out of Jerusalem. Rome's away on another war campaign. So it took him 4 years to get the guys back over there to get it back.
Oh, okay. So they repel Rome from Jerusalem.
And he was the Messiah, and he...
What? Oh, you don't remember his name then?
Oh, no. Here's the other thing. There was a lot of people that rode into Jerusalem and said they were the Messiah. And it wasn't just Jesus.
Right. That guy's name was Pete Best, by the way. Ladies and gentlemen, the original Pete Best.
Pete Best. I just see him working at Blockbuster Video. You know, Pete Best just...
Or actually, I know Scott, and I know his name's Scott, but he's actually the first bass player from Weezer.
Oh, that guy was El Scorcho. That guy's so good.
Yeah. Is he still doing anything?
No. Oh, I don't know. He might.
left Weezer because he was getting some hype or whatever, and then I don't even know anything about it. Let's go back to Jerusalem. So this guy repels. Okay.
So we were talking about the start of Christianity, and it piggybacks off this earlier faith, of this Jewish faith. Yeah. And so Jesus wasn't a Christian.
Right.
Okay. And now
couldn't have been because he's alive. He can't be on a Christian as Christ's dumb.
Well, so there's anyone listening is going to freak the fuck out and try to figure out anything I'm saying and prove all of it wrong.
Dude,
You might be able to
fact check.
find a little
Fact
fact here
check.
and there, but like, here's the truth. The earliest gospel written, okay, so, and again, the gospels are our stories that are about Jesus. They're later than most of the books in the New Testament. They were written after the epistles. They were written after the letters of Paul. They were written 35 to 120 years after the fucking death of Jesus. And this is in a oral society, an oral tradition. In an oral society and tradition, they don't care about history. They don't care about facts. They don't care about like the fact that you could be there with a cell phone recording this and then that's exactly what happened. They care about the essence. They're like the story, the moral. What are you supposed to take away from this?
Lessons,
and is that intact?
life lessons. Yeah.
Right. So the earliest copies we have of this book too are like, so we don't have any of the original copies of the Bible. We have copies of copies that are actually about 1,300 years, 600 years after
So
the first.
the earliest that there are in existence are like 600 years after the first ones are written.
Actually, I think it's like 13. I could be wrong, but it's a lot.
Is that like the those libraries of the burn? You know,
Oh, you talking about the Dead Sea Scrolls?
no, like
Okay, 'cause it's not.
but is that
No, that's like Jewish writings. It has nothing to do with the New Testament.
no, like the Alexandria Library.
So that's a whole different thing that I was kind of. So let me try to build
Where is
it to
Where is
that.
Alexandria? Is that in Greece?
I believe the Library of Alexandria was in Rome. It was in Rome.
Okay.
Yeah.
But that burned, and that was like a tragedy.
Oh man! And why did it burn?
Fucking Catholics.
Because it held. We lost 99.9% of all of our information of the time before all of this, and so
And who did that?
the Catholics.
That was their work.
Yeah. So it's like
I bet they have it all. I bet it was like a bait and switch, like a nothing up my sleeve. This church over here got all the documents, and then they shuttled it over to their thing, and then they it's all gone. Sorry.
See, I grew up so isolated, and I
mean,
grew up.
Dude, there's no way.
Conspiracy
There's
theories.
no,
I love them.
this isn't a theory. This is just a certainty.
Yeah, I just don't. I have to like keep checking myself all the time because like when even that I'm like, oh yeah, dude.
Yeah. Well,
But-
there was all it took is one really smart dude to know that like it's so hard to know like I don't know.
Or
You know, like
the
they weren't
existence-
righteous.
No.
They were just rich.
Yeah.
They pretended to be righteous, but it's just like they were, the scientists figured out the moon eclipses and told the priests, and the priests are like, oh, we can totally use this. And they stand up there and make it look like they made it happen and cut off a bunch of heads and there, came back. You're welcome.
And all along the way,
Sorry.
it becomes this perfect form of control. And really what it is, you can get people to
Mind
comply.
control.
You can get people to comply with this stuff. I mean, who doesn't want to be good? Who doesn't want to know God? Who doesn't want to go to heaven? Who doesn't want to have a good life here? Yeah. But so Christianity comes about in this really weird form because Jesus dies, and his followers keep talking about him. And this guy named Paul. Okay, check this out too. This is really fun. The New Testament, do you know what language it was written in? Greek.
I'm going to say Greek.
But what language did Jesus speak?
He spoke Latin.
Aramaic.
Well, it was Latin Aramaic.
Oh. So check this out. So the Bible, the New Testament, is a bunch of dudes speaking in Aramaic that gets translated into Greek and then gets translated into all of our other languages, English and whatnot. So
There are no Aramaic Bibles. It's called the Torah.
there's a bunch of writings.
It's called the Quran.
There's a bunch of writings, but the New Testament, the Christian Gospels that we say, they were all in Greek.
Right.
So this man dies. He says he's the God of everything, even though the Messiah is not supposed to die, even though this is not supposed to happen, and
Because he's not supposed to die because he can't because he's a deity.
Because the whole reason for the Messiah was to free these people so they could worship God. So he's essentially a king. He's supposed to come rule over everyone and judge correctly. You know, to some of the Jews, he would be a perfect prophet who would speak the word of God with like complete accuracy and authority. Right. To some people, he would be like a King David perfected, where he'd be this warrior where no one could fuck with him and he'd keep people, you know, it was all different. But there was none of them that said he's going to be poor and die.
But did anyone say he was God? Or he's just a dude? That's the big.
I actually don't know that. I should look that up, the claims. I know here's the funny thing though. Let's imagine you're a Christian and you know you're around the people that are writing the Bible. There's not much information about Jesus, but guess what you have? The Old Testament. So we act like, "Oh, he fulfilled this prophecy." Or the motherfuckers had the book and were reading it and they were like, "Oh, that's just like this guy over here." And then they just kind of conflate it and bring it over in. Right. And so when this guy takes over Jerusalem in like 64, 67 AD, right? And they live this way. It starts this war where the entire nation of Israel gets conquered. So now it's kind of shitty to be a Jew. And what do you see? You see these writings about this Jewish Messiah who was betrayed by Rome? No, he wasn't betrayed by Rome. Rome carried out the sentence, yes, but he was betrayed by
the Jews.
Boom.
Yeah.
Boom. And so this piggybacking off this other religion.
Oh, and it's the Roman Catholics.
Well, so Christianity kind of stays in this sect of like.
Yeah, go ahead.
Of some. There's this. The Apostle Paul is the biggest dude of it. Of the 27 books of the New Testament, he wrote 13.
Okay.
Supposedly, he only wrote 7. Six of those 13 were like.
He was the McCartney
of Christianity. Yeah. This is going to be great. This is how everyone will hate us. I think he's a fucking asshole. I hate him. I don't agree with whatever. But anyway.
It was his birthday.
Paul?
Yeah. Oh, were you talking about?
I'm talking about the Apostle.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, Paul McCartney's a dude. Let me roll it. I wish I had more coffee. So
I know.
I guess the point is that like you.
Yeah, go ahead.
Christianity in the form it is now, if you don't realize that how much it's gone through to get here, how many revisions, how many changes, how many different people say different things about this person. You're fucking dumb.
How is it even a it's not a historical document. It's not a historical document. There's absolutely there's probably like are there dustings of reality even?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. They mentioned some really interesting things. In fact, in the Old Testament there's this really cool thing where it talked about this kingdom, and I believe Israel gets conquered by his kingdom.
But the New Testament, though.
Well, so all of this, I like to try to think of it holistically. So,
okay.
So so this kingdom was mentioned in the Bible, but there was no signs of it forever. And then later archaeological digs found oh shit, this place was real. So the Bible had information.
What was that place
I can't
called?
remember, not Babylon, obviously, but it was something in Persia. I think that's the really rad one where the hand comes and draws on the wall. Like all these, they're partying in the temple, they're partying in their kingdom, and I can't remember which dude is king of Jerusalem or king of the Israelites then. And this hand appears and just starts writing on the wall. And it's I think it says something like, "You have been weighed and found in want, and tonight even your kingdom will be taken from you." It's so badass. So,
That's awesome.
But the problem is that Christians want to be right, and they don't. The document's so fucking massive, it's really hard to read, and they don't know much about it. So they just conflate everything. They're like, "No, it's totally a historical document because it mentions the Tigris and the Euphrates River." And it's like, okay. Yeah. Okay. But if the other biggest horrible misconception about Christianity, and this is what's taught everywhere, is that the Bible has no errors. No spelling errors, no contextual errors.
That's a belief.
That's not a belief. That's like maybe one of the core tenets of almost every church I've ever been around.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Right.
That's just not a reality. That's not reality.
Well, yeah. So one of the coolest parts about this shit is that like, there's this Run the Jewels line that I love, and it goes, "These bitch bars you spit are your fucking prison." And it's talking about other rappers, you know.
Yeah.
And it's like, so the Bible we have a lot of Bibles. It's really interesting. Compared to other old books, compared to old documents, old writings, we have like 5,400 different manuscripts of the New Testament. Versions. Just like, what the fuck? That's insane.
Varietals.
Right. And
how you feeling today?
and you know, it's the Bible. It's what becomes the Bible, all these manuscripts. Would you like to guess how many of these Bibles agree with each other?
Like a close or just like?
Well, close they all do. So
they're all
and when we talk about errors, to give the Bible credit, most of the errors are spelling. So they're contextually, most of it's intact. A lot of it is intact, right? Okay. But yeah,
if you're saying there's no errors in the,
yeah, well, there are more errors in the New Testament between these manuscripts than there are words in the New Testament. There is
so the Bible should forevermore just never appear without air quotes. Right? Because it's not a manuscript you can hold and say, this is the Bible I'm talking about, because you have no fucking idea. The Bible is the idea of that book of words.
I like that.
Because it's not what that book of words says, you know, because it doesn't really matter what it says, because they made this shit up anyway. I mean, like you say, there's some accuracy. Yeah. But there's a lot of
fuckery.
A lot of shining the fancy light on your autobiography. You know,
embellishments. There's and it's like, okay, here's another thing. If the Bible has no errors, why does Jesus misquote the Old Testament in Luke 5:7? I believe it's Luke 5:7, might be 4:7. But he quotes something from the Old Testament, and he quotes like Isaiah says, and it's like from the book of Daniel, or maybe vice versa. That's a fucking error. Yeah. Okay? I mean, here's a bunch of other things. This guy, this rock star of the Bible, Paul, who wrote all these books, dude, he's like, in one book, he's thanking all these women. He's like, and Judith is the best missionary, and she was so kind to us, and we love her. And he's like giving homage to all these women that he considers to be rad and great in the faith, really great in the faith. And then he writes this other book, and he's like, women must learn in silence.
Oh, that's that guy.
So why does he have these two, it's like, well, because that other book you're mentioning was probably written by a student of him years later, because pseudepigraphy, where you'd put, your name on it, like let's say you taught your kid how to read. You sent him off to a school. You're a farmer, and you got your hands on some paper. He comes back from the school, and you go, "Hey, write out all the shit you read about Socrates. Doesn't even matter if it's real. Just write everything out you can remember, and we're going to put Socrates on it." And then you go down to the market. You can fucking sell it. Now you're rich. That's a thing. That's a thing. It's these documents have nothing to do with a historical context. They wanted to pass it down.
Yeah, they wanted to sell it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I think we did it, huh?
There it fucking is. 4 fucking years of work. Sorry for the curse words, but I think I earned them. Yeah. Some of that shit's wrong. Most of it's really close. And for the fact that we just do this off the top of our heads and get high as fuck, we appreciate you dealing with all the little bumps along the way. We're excited. We're excited to do this a lot. Hopefully we can actually start a Bible study pretty soon. I think that'd be fun. All right. Smooches.